So today we're going to be reading the next chapter in Vaenuth's storyline, which is Vaenuth 6. There we are. And I usually try to get this set up with the character art. See you next time, Daniel Vivi, if you're checking out. No worries. And yeah, Games with Kidding. Glad you're excited. I try to have some variety on the channel, and the Lives of Gethra stories have been around for a number of years. I've been writing them for a while, so lots of content to get through, and I think the audio version will be a nice way for more people to access. Oh, sweet, yeah, we'll do a chapter. So let me pull up some slick character art here. Give me a second, guys, to get all set up. I'm gonna get eventually I'll get these in overlays so that I can just click it and it'll go to this go to a nice layout. So I kind of have the map up for you guys. I've got the story where I'll be reading. Let me close that out. Let me close that out. And our random numbers. And then over on the side here, we're going to put down our nice illustration of Vaenuth. Oh, good to know, Games with Kitty. Yeah. I haven't done an audiobook or audio content like that before. I mean, this is my second week streaming, so I'm kind of new to all this. But I have a lot of friends who've even been involved with Lives of Gethra and wanted to have an audio version for a long time. So it's kind of fun to be able to get that out there finally. All right, so here's a illustration of Vaenuth. We've had an artist friend of mine, Shayna Wiarda. Feel free to look her up. She's got an Instagram. She used to have an artist website, but she's primarily works as an animator, so it's a little different. But yeah, so she's done these character art snapshots for us, which look slick. And we've got that's what's actually on the book for some of these installments in the Lives of Gethra series. You can get all my books on Amazon and stuff like that in hard copy. But the audiobook for now, the audio version is free on Spotify and any other of the big podcast platforms. So, all right, let me get a drink here. Week 2 as a streamer, your voice really starts feeling it, but it's all good. All right, so for the podcast segment, because I'm kind of just going to commit, like this is going to go right over to my other platforms, I've just got to focus on that. But feel free to chat, guys, if you want, or if you have any questions, ask them. I can always review. I'll read through the chat once I'm done. So, all right, Vaenuth 6. 29th of the 6th moon, years since Orish 1478. It was about 2 hours after noon when Vaenuth and her caravan came upon the bloody sign in the sand. They had already eaten, and a few members of the caravan emptied their lunch into the desert dunes at the sight of 3 men, half-eaten, and their horses in the same state. One of the men was completely unrecognizable, while the other 2 still had faces. An arm was missing here, a leg there. All 3 had been gutted. The horses were even scantier, most of their meat torn right from the bones. Flies and vultures had already begun to set in, tearing at the carcasses like the feast they had been made. These 3 men had been scouts for Vaenuth, riding the dunes to warn of impending dangers or relieving sites of safety where they might be found. The Logren rivers were under 10 days away, but these men had been killed without ever seeing them. Rotting slithers, Bano said. The ones we spoke to? Julian asked, his face grim. Vaenuth had been surprised when he looked at those bodies without getting queasy. No, Vaenuth said. This female slither had been too friendly to her, and that tribe had traveled north during the night after they had met. These very scouts had watched their way without any issues and returned unharmed. Now they were carrion. This was a tribe from the Scale Lands. To them, we're no different than 2-legged water buffalo. Look, Teig said. With the butt of his spear, he pulled the bark of a cactus away from the grisly sight. It bore 2 symbols in the trade language. Give 5. Bano cursed again. He walked to the top of the nearest dune, his wide linen robe splashing through the sand as he climbed the peak. He turned his head around, scouring the desert for signs of their newfound enemy. What does it mean? Julian asked. They want 5, Teig said. 5 what? 5 people, the warrior said. He tossed away the husk of cactus and spat at it. What are we going to do? There's no outrunning them. It's too far to the Logren rivers. There's no one around, Bano called. The wind was picking up, ruffling his robe as he began the walk back down. She shouted up back at him, Doesn't matter. We're prey in the middle of the hunting ground. She pulled off her hood, despite the wind, and scratched the side of her scalp, where the shaved section of her hair was starting to grow back in. She needed to take a razor to it again. She only liked a curtain of her hair growing at the top of her head, not the sides. Get everyone together. Put up some wind bluffs or something, quick. Soon enough it was as she said. The 30 members of her caravan gathered behind a few makeshift tents to hear the grim news. Vaenuth delivered it, though the horror on their faces reflected her own hatred, her loathing for fate, or whatever fiendish god had put her through all of this, to come now to such a precipice of hopeless danger. We're cornered, no matter how we try to escape, she told them. We stand and fight, or we give them what they want. 5 people? Julian asked. How can you even know that from just their poorly written letters? We know it, Bano said. It's how they speak to us. All the tribes. No need to write 5 when there's already bodies to show it. 5, said Ellie, tears on her cheeks. I'll go, she decided, setting her jaw. Vaenuth stared at her. What? Ellie was a much softer person than Vaenuth, and even Vae paled at terror of such a sacrifice. I'll do it for the group, Ellie stepped forward and crossed her arms. We don't even know if it will stop them. I'm in too, said Ro, one of Teig's fighters. And I, said Orsat, a man who was irritatingly devout to the Eternal Emperor, but was a skilled hunter. 7 volunteered, including Ellie. Vaenuth stood before her caravan, her family, and tried not to break down. They only need 5, she said. Ellie shouldn't. She's our best chef, Bano said. Ellie, sit down, Julian said. She looked as though she might resist, her tear-stained face set with a ferocity Vaenuth had never seen in her. But then, reluctantly, she stepped back and returned to the wagon seat she'd been on. She covered her mouth with a hand and watched as they continued to discuss. Pressip is one of our best hunters, Teig pointed out. He should stay too. Pressip stays then, Vaenuth decided. She was still a leader. She had to be. For them. That's our 5 then. All of them were men. A wave of tears and sobs broke out. Is there no other way? Julian asked. Such a cost. This is the only way, Bano said. I've heard stories of worse from the Scalelands. Entire groups butchered, traded, and feasted upon. We might be lucky, though it feels like the opposite by so much. Let's get the caravan moving. Have Belmire ready, and I'll catch up after I talk with these heroes, Vaenuth said. Bano took care of Belmire, and made it clear with a stern nod that he would not be riding until the caravan. Bano took care of Belmire, and made it clear with a stern nod that he would not be riding with the caravan until Vaenuth rode at his side. Soon all the wagons were riding again. Some of them glanced at the bloody hole they had dug for the remains of their scouts. Once they were all past, save Bano and the 5, Vaenuth put her hands on 2 of their shoulders, and said to them, Your names will be remembered. As long as our caravan lives, you'll be our heroes. By any of the gods you worship, you'll find yourselves in paradise once you endure this. They bowed their heads and received her blessing in their grief. The sun beat down from overhead, merciless, not a cloud in the sky. I hate that we must consider this, but death at the hands of the Slithers may be more than you can endure. I don't know this. I don't know what they will do to you, she said, but I must, damn, I hate that I must, offer you an alternative. She showed them an inch of the blade at her waist, a wide-bladed iron knife. Only if you want. Please, said Orsat. Uncertainty challenges my resolve. A few others nodded. Only one voiced his resistance. Ro shook his head. He was flushed, full of anger. I will fight for my survival, even as I fight for yours, he said. Let me take a few of the Slithers to oblivion with me. Vaenuth nodded. As you wish. She drew her knife to kill her own children, or so it felt. For them, she'd do it. I can handle this, Ro said, and put his hand on hers. She looked at him, and carefully considered. If these 5 failed to satisfy the Slithers, they might come after the caravan once more. She had to trust he would do as he said, and face the tribe that came, no matter how horrific it was. You have to lead these people, never kill them, Ro said. Let me bear this burden. When Vaenuth relented, and turned to take Belmire's reins from Bano, she saw a mist in her big friend's eyes that she had rarely seen before. He gave Ro a nod, and followed Belmire on foot. The wind tore at her eyes, and she pulled her hood up again, wrapping a veil about her face. Within it, none could see her eyes. When they got to the top of the next dune, she heard a gentle cry out and turned to see. She had to see. Ro had killed 2 already, and spilled the blood of a third with his bronze sword before the sandy slope hid the scene from her. When they reached the top of the next dune, she saw another in the distance. A sleek, dark lizard was watching them, leaning on a tall bone spear, a slither, watching to see if their prey would join in the sport. Vaenuth, half delusional perhaps, pointed back at the 5 they had left. The reptile descended the hill it was on and vanished from sight. Ahead, Vaenuth's caravan awaited her, and she prayed that this was the last they would see of the Scalelands tribe. Alright. Vaenuth 6. Things got dark. They are facing some difficulty as they try to continue their journey north of the Yurna Mountains and along the edge of the Scalelands. Glad you guys stuck around. Or dozed off, as the case may be. Alright. Well, have a good night, everyone. Oh, thanks, Chicken with Rabies. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the stream. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, no worries. Alright. Well, catch you guys next time. We'll continue the cult storyline if we can next time, or we'll continue Chicken with Rabies, a pirate berserker, if depending on who's free and what's going on. Alright. See you next time, guys. Have a good night.